Hey you guys, so today I'm going to be doing a very highly requested video all about how I install my sew-in hair extensions. As some of you all may or may not know, I was recently on my spring break, which luckily I spent a couple days in Florida and it was so much fun. I had such a blast, but before I left, I definitely had to get that new spring break hairstyle. I was fortunate enough to work with a cool company by the name of Hair Fleek, who so kindly sent me these beautiful hair extensions. So if you guys want to see this video, then just keep on watching. So I usually just start off with freshly washed hair, and this is my hair after I have washed it, deep conditioned it, and lightly blow dried it. So as you guys can see, I have braided the hair that will be left out, so all the braids are just my leave out. So I have hair around my edges, hair in the back so I can put it in a ponytail, and hair down the middle because I will be doing another Vixen Sew-in like in my last video. And then I also have some hair at the top so that I can wear a side part. So after that, I braid the rest of my hair, which is where the tracks will be sewn onto, and I usually do a circular braid pattern. I just try to braid in a circle, and I find that this technique works best for me, and I try to braid as flat as possible because a flat foundation is definitely key when having a good sew-in. And then when I have the end of the braid, I just sew it on top of the other braids, and that's just what works best for me, so yeah. I put on my wig cap, which I really like using because this thing allows you to sew tracks in spaces where there is no braid or where there is no hair to sew a track onto. So I really like it, and as you can see, I got an open wig cap, but you can get one that's fully netted. But just to help this, I just tie a knot, and then I end up cutting the knot off and sewing the rest of the net together. So it's like a closed wig cap, and it's super simple. But then after that, I am going to sew the net onto the area where I will sew the tracks so that the net can stay on the braids. So yeah, I just kind of loop under the braid and loop through the hole of the net. I'm gonna try to get a close-up for you guys, but yeah, I just loop through the hole of the net and then under the braid, and yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, but you just go all around the perimeter of the area where your tracks will be sewn onto. Starting it off, I usually just loop the needle through the hole and under the braid, and then I put the needle through the two pieces of string to kind of make it secure. And as you can see, I do have a knot at the end of my string, so yeah, and then that's just kind of how I secure the very first one. And then after that, I just keep looping under the braid through the hole of the net, and it just stays secure, and this thing is just brilliant. I love this method, so yeah. Also, throughout this video, if you can tell, my fingernails are black, and that is just because I did dye the hair extensions black the night before, and I got the dye all on my fingernails, so in case you're wondering, that is why my nails are black. Once I have finished sewing the net onto the braids, I simply cut off the excess net with some scissors, but I am very careful so that I don't cut my real hair. And pretty much you just go around the perimeter where all of your leave out is, and be very careful not to cut your real hair. But yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, and this is just so that the net will only be in the area where you will be sewing the tracks. Now it is time to start sewing the tracks onto the braids, so I usually just start off by taking the needle and putting it through the end of the weft of the track, and I have a knot at the end of the string, as you can see here, to secure it. And then I just go ahead and start at the farthest end of the section, and as you can see where my finger is right there is where I'm going to start, and I take the needle and put it under the braid, and then I loop the needle like through the weft or like under the weft, as you can see here. I'm going to try to get as close up as possible, but yeah, so I usually just go under the braid and then under the weft, and this is the technique that just works really well for me. I know there are several techniques out there and a lot of videos on YouTube that show different techniques, but this is the one that I find works best for me, and I just continue this all throughout the braid or wherever I'm sewing it on, and then yeah. So here's the flip over method that I use when doing my sew-in. I find it very helpful, and for those of you who do not know what it is, it's basically where you flip the tracks over instead of cutting them, and I really find that it's convenient when you want to reuse your tracks or when you don't want to have a lot of shedding, because it definitely does minimize shedding. So I just flip the track over and then continue to sew it, and this is just awesome because you can also put the tracks as close to each other as you would like, and it's not as much of a hassle. So then I just continue to sew it as I did before, under the braid and then under the track, and yeah, that's just pretty much all I do for the whole sew-in. So when I have to secure the track, maybe because the string is running low or the track is simply done, I usually just take the thread and tie it in a double knot, and then I just cut the rest of the thread that we don't need so it won't be hanging from my head. And it's super simple, and it's just as simple as it sounds. And then I just rethread the needle with the thread and get started with my next track, and yeah, that is the method that works for me. I know there are a lot of other methods, but this is just the one that I use, so yeah. That is the finished look. I hope that you guys really enjoyed this video and found it very helpful, so that maybe someday you can go ahead and try your own sew-in, because I really love this style. As you can see, it's very versatile and I can just do a lot with this hairstyle, so it's definitely one of my favorites. If you can tell, some of the hair at the top is still a little brown because I actually have not dyed that hair yet, but that night I did dye it all black to match my real hair color. These are honestly some of the best extensions that I've ever had because they are so soft and they are just very high quality, so I really like them, and I definitely feel like I'm on fleek, y'all, so shout out to Hair Fleek for that. If you guys are interested in trying out their extensions, I definitely have a coupon code for you guys to use in the description box. It will give you $10 off of your purchase of $100 or more, so definitely go check out hairfleek.com and make sure to thumbs up this video if you guys did enjoy it. Let's see if we can get this video to like 500 likes, and I will see you guys in my next video.